This is Jerry with the Sensible Survivals Solution, bringing you an ammo build beginning to end on the 308 Winchester. We're on stage number 2 of the case prep. But before we get started, we'll make sure we have the 4 simple rules out of the way. Whatever you're going to see in this video is legal for me in my area. Your responsibility is to make sure it's legal for you. Don't ask me to build anything for you. I'm a single individual. I am not a manufacturer, and it is illegal for me to make and sell ammunition. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions. I use the Hornady handbook on reloading. It gives me all the specs I need for all the different types of ammunition that I build. And then finally, be sure to always wear your vision and hearing protection. As I stated, this is step 2 of 3. We're looking now at trimming the case to the manufacturer's specs. I'll get into the exact specs in the video, but just make sure I have already looked at the case length as specified in the Hornady manual. You will also see that I use a Frankford Arsenal case trim and prep center. I used the manual method for the longest time and just wore my hands out. I'm too old for that, so I went and spent the money on the Frankfurt Arsenal Case Trim and Prep Center, and that was an outstanding investment. So let's get going. Okay, before we start the next step of the process, we're going to consult our Hornady cartridge reloading guide. It's a handbook that's just loaded with information about different cartridges. In this case, we want to look at the case trim length here. Max case length is 2.015 inches, and the case trim length is supposed to be around 2.005. So somewhere between 2.005 and 2.015, that's the safe case trim. I try not to get it any smaller than the 2.005. So that's where we're going to start, and I'm going to take you now through the first step of the process. Okay, before we start the timer portion of this, I'm going to talk about the tools that I have. I've got the case. This is a from Harbor Freight. This little device is going to measure the length of the case that we have to start with. In this case, it's in this situation is 2.028. So this is longer than the safe reloading size of the case. So we are going to trim this up. I've already got the, this is the Frankford Arsenal Case Trim and Prep Center. I did do this by hand for the longest time, and I started getting really carpal tunnel type of symptoms where my hands were getting weak. I had a lot of twisting motion, and it just wasn't doing good for my hands. So I went and invested in this, and it has been a blessing for me. It will trim and then take the camper and then deburr the little shavings that we have on there and really get this case, the neck portion of this here, perfect. Love it. When I'm done with this, you'll see in the next video, we'll switch out these 2 dies here and be able to get the pocket primer ready, or the pocket ready for the primer. We'll use a pocket uniformer and get it really, really shiny and clean and the right shape to accept the new primer. I have also found these gloves at Harbor Freight. They're a rubberized kind of palm and fingers. This helps me grip the case a lot better. I don't have to cramp so hard down on it. This glove does a lot of the work for me. For $2, I got a pair of these, no brainer. So now we were a little bit long on this case. I'm going to go ahead and start the machine. It's going to be a little bit noisy, so I probably won't be talking during this, but you'll get an idea of what we're doing. We're going to stick the case in, and you can feel it with your hand and fingers. It's being trimmed off, being shaved off. The shavings obviously are going into this little plastic bucket. I do highly recommend you do that. It will make a mess. Now I'm taking off the outside burrs and the inside. So when I'm done, what I've got now is a really trimmed up case. Now let's take a look at the length. Calipers. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Calipers. All right, now this is 2.0055. That's really close enough for what I'm trying to do. So that's taking this now from 2.028 down to 2.0055. I'm within 5/10,000ths of having a perfectly trimmed case. That's close enough for what we're doing here. It's within the tolerances. We're good to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take the 20 that we previously did the deprimer and reshaping on. I'm going to now put them through the case. We're going to start the timer and see how long this takes us. All right, we're looking at about 7 minutes. Well, let's call it 30 seconds to do 20 of these. You'll probably notice that some of them were already pretty much the right length. They really weren't that much too long, so they went through the process really quick. Then we had some others that were quite long. It took a little bit more effort. You saw me probably turning and twisting here. That was so I could get a good round feel of the neck of the cartridge to make sure that it was completely level all the way around. The cutting tool inside here does a good job, and you'll see that, well, I'll get up and show you, there's quite a few shavings in the bottom of this. Let's see if we can get a good image of that. You see there's a lot of shavings in there from just that 20. These do come out. There's also, they come out of the holes in the side of the tool there. Overall, this is a good step of the process. It makes sure that we have a safe cartridge or safe case to build a cartridge from. In the past, you would have a tool that you'd have to sit there and well, I've got that tool here. Let me get that out of the drawer over here. Okay, so you'd have a die like this that would go into that press. And then you have this handle that goes in on top of it. You take the case up inside of here through your press, and you sit there and you turn it. And you turn and you turn and you turn until it's trimmed up. You're going to make the same amount of mess with all the trimmings, but you're going to do the hand crank manual method. So this part of it, I really got tired of it. It works, and it works well. And it works with any of the dies that I have. I've got a 308, 223, 300 blackout, all using the same crank. So that works, but that Frankford Arsenal, it really saves time and manpower getting it done. So that's the next step. So now we've gone through, first step was the deprime and to reshape. Now we have trimmed the case to the right length. The next step of the process is to actually go ahead and uniform the primer pocket to prepare it for the next stage.